morning. It's April 28th. Cloudy this morning and a little cooler, so I'm back in a jacket and hat. I hope today's live stream works better than yesterday's, because yesterday apparently there was no sound on Facebook, and I have no idea why. And Facebook and the YouTube one failed about 35 minutes in. I went through one of those. Your internet connection is unstable spots. So hopefully it works better today, if anybody's watching or starts watching as this continues. I don't have a huge plan today. I'm going to work my way down, I think, close to the Mackenzie, and just going in a different direction to get there and come back. That's a good hour walk by the time it's all said and done. We'll start by going across the good old footbridge to get to the other side. Why did the author cross the footbridge? The wind is fairly sharp, so I think I'll be glad to have my gloves and hat this morning. It was 1 degree as I set out. Supposed to go to 12 today. Yesterday I was able to sit outside, which is unusual. Well, not unusual, but you know, first time I'd done it this year. It was so nice yesterday afternoon. We got our ancient patio furniture set up on our concrete pad. That's what we have as a deck for now, although we're planning to build one. Something much nicer, so we can enjoy the outdoors more. And we've only been in the house for 15 years, so better late than never. Yesterday I did a bunch of Kickstarter work. If this is your first time following me, I have a podcast called The World Shapers, where I talk to other science fiction fantasy authors, and that's at theworldshapers.com. And last year I kickstarted an anthology called Shapers of Worlds, which features stories by the first-year guests, some of the first-year guests. People like, I don't know, John Scalzi, David Brin, Tanya Huff, Julie Sheneda, Joe Haldeman, big names. It was sort of half and half news stories and reprints last year, and that worked. So I ran another Kickstarter in March of this year successfully, and I'm now working on Shapers of Worlds Volume 2, featuring guests from the second year of my podcast. Again, a spectacular lineup of authors like Kelly Armstrong, Barb Hambly, Marie Brennan, lots more. I'm hesitant to list too many, because then it'll be, why did you leave out this other one? So that was 3 examples. This year it's 18 original stories and 6 reprints. And out of those 24 stories, I already have 13 in hand. Oh yes, and Garth Nix is another one. I already have his story. So yesterday and the day before I did contracts sent out, and yesterday I sent out quite a bit of money actually to authors already. And so moving ahead rapidly. I don't really expect the stories, like the new ones. I should have all the reprints pretty quick, but the new ones, not really asking for them until May, end of May, or even June. But one of which is mine. I haven't written mine yet, so there's one of the 24 that's delayed. Been thinking about it though. I know the name of one character because one of the backers rewards in the Kickstarter was Tuckerization. Tuckerization is a term in science fiction and fantasy for using a real person's name as a character in a story. It goes back to a writer named Wilson? I think it was Wilson Tucker, who used to do that many, many, many years ago. And the name is attached, Tuckerization. Anyway, Sharon Sheffield will be the name of one of the characters in my story. I have an idea what the story is going to be, an idea I've had for a long time, never done anything with. So we'll see. One of these days I'll write that. Meanwhile, I still got the Tangled Stars, which is my next book for Daw to work on. I'm ready to plunge on with fresh writing after having gone through what I've already written. Kind of get a fresh run at the last half of the book. And I think I'm happy with what I've written for the most part. I think it's very readable and fun. Unfortunately, the next 2 days are likely taken up with taxes. Since Canadian taxes are due on the end of April, at the end of April. I gotta do that. I hate that, but it always seems like it sneaks up on you. All of a sudden it's tax time. It's a pain, but it has to be done, so hopefully I can get it done tomorrow, and it only takes up 1 day. I don't have any other assignments that are due that I have to fit around it. And Kickstarter stuff is not urgent if I skip a day doing any Kickstarter stuff. I also sent out a new update yesterday, so to my backers, let them know where we're at. And to promote another Kickstarter that Susan Forrest, who's one of my authors, is one of the editors on. And I've had Susan as an editor before for some media anthologies I've been in. Strangers Among Us, and always give a view of the rivers I go over. I'm already seeing, for a moment there, I saw an unstable internet connection, so everything's working. The name of the anthology. I just posted it, but it's very cool because it's combining science fiction with scientific articles about extraterrestrial life, as I recall. All right, into Lakeview again. If you happen to be watching this live, leave me a note. Let me know if this is working. I was very concerned yesterday to find out that Facebook Live, for some reason, had no sound. I have no idea why, because it certainly recorded sound. So, I mean, if you watch these as a recording on YouTube, you wouldn't have noticed anything except me talking about it. But the one person who tuned in said she had no sound. And I really don't know why I keep getting an unstable internet connection. There's something with my phone. Kind of puts a cramp on the live stream part of this. Oh well, I'm still recording, so it's the YouTube one is kind of the main thing. I could skip live streaming altogether and just do the recordings. But I do like it when I get a comment. I wonder if there's a setting I should be looking at. I know on YouTube there's latency settings. Well, can't do anything about it this time. It is what it is. So it's possible the YouTube feed has failed like it did yesterday. I just won't know until I get home. I'm turning back now. Here's Lakeview School over there. For some reason there's somebody's coat lying on the ground. Like a kid's coat. Oh, hi. Well, YouTube must be working. There's my anchor from. Oh, wait, sorry. Wrong one. That's Miriam. I really have bad eyesight, so without my reading glasses. Well, I hope it holds together for you, Miriam, if you keep watching, because yesterday it seemed to have failed about halfway through the stream. Not as pretty today. Cold and gray. At least I know YouTube is working at the moment. I assume you have sound. That's what was missing yesterday on Facebook. What else did I like to mention? I mentioned the Kickstarter, Tangled Stars. Oh, somebody's there. Yeah, it's glitchy, but I thought it was me. Yeah, it's this just seemed like a few days ago. All of a sudden I started getting unstable internet over here where really, I mean, this is a major residential area. There should be solid coverage here. That's why I wonder if my phone is perhaps not. Yes, there is sound, Marianne tells me, on YouTube. Good. Something going on with my phone. I hear sound. I'm on Facebook, says Wendy, my niece, and the artist for I Tumble Through the Diamond Dust, my poetry collection from a couple of years ago. That came about in an interesting way. I don't really consider myself a poet, but for Poetry Month, which was April, so we're in Poetry Month now, in 2018, I guess it was, the Poet Laureate of Saskatchewan at the time, Gerald Hill, set a challenge to members of the Saskatchewan Writers Guild where he would send out every day 2 lines of poetry from published Saskatchewan poets. The challenge was to either write a new poem incorporating those 2 lines or a poem that responded to them. And much to my surprise, I ran with that challenge, took those 2 lines each day, and wrote a new poem. Me being me, they're all science fiction and fantasy poems. Me being me, they're also really science fiction and fantasy stories in poetic form. So at the end of that, there were 24 poems, which was plenty for a poetry book. And then Wendy Nordell, my niece, is a very talented artist, and she did illustrations for me. And the book was published by Your Nicholsworth Press here in Regina, and is now available, so everywhere, in both ebook and print form. So if you like poetry and you like illustrations, I recommend it. Oh look, now we got Big Brother Jim too. Wendy's father. It's a family reunion right here on YouTube. Or Facebook in this case. Talk amongst yourselves. So ynwp.ca is Your Nicholsworth if you want to check out the poetry book. Or you can get it directly from me at edwardwillettshop.com. Had a couple of really nice reviews, which pleased me because, as I said, I'm not a poet in my own mind. Not primarily, anyway. And it also pleased me that Gerald, before I mentioned Poet Laureate, picked 6 of my poems to include in a collection of poetry arising from the challenge, which was published by what do they call it? Oh, I can't remember the name of the little publishing company that did it. But anyway, that's out there too. I can't remember the name of the book. Those are slightly different, the versions in there from mine. Gerald edited them with my approval. But for my own collection, I used something closer to what I originally wrote. Yeah. It was so fun drawing for that book, Wendy says. Great poems, thank you. Great illustrations. I may take my hat off before too long. It's always chilly when you start, but it warms up quickly as you walk. Still zigzagging my way over to Albert Street here. Still a couple of walks to go that way. Always like that kind of half-timbered Tudorian look on a house. I don't know why. Too much reading a fantasy, I guess. Over here, on the other hand, there's a really modern one. And another one on the other side here. So a mixture of the old and the new along here. I don't quite know what to make of that one. Modern, but probably done in the 50s or even the 40s. It would have been ultra modern at the time it was built. So, I often mention that songs get stuck in my head as I walk, and today, for whatever reason, it's "I'll be working my way back to you." Thanks, Jim. Thanks for dropping by, or dropping in, or whatever you call it on a live stream. Okay, taking off the hat. Head's getting sweaty. Now it'll be cold. Hard to strike a happy medium. High hedge here, my left. Not showing a lot of buds. Oh, there's some. There's some buds. Hey, I think I saw a snowflake. We're supposed to get rain about 11. It's showers, nothing major. Busier road. Harder for me to jaywalk across. They can go now. Getting closer to Albert. One more block. There it is down there. Those are snowflakes. Don't know if you can see them or not, but it's snowing a little bit. Yay. I don't want to mount anything. And it is supposed to be 12 later today, so what may be starting is snow flurries will turn to showers later. I'd rather have snow right now because I went by the forecast that said no rain till about 11, and I don't have any way to cover the phone or more importantly the gimbal. The phone's reasonably waterproof actually. Apparently the iPhone 11's good too. I don't know, 1.5 meters for half an hour or something like that supposedly. Not that I'd ever try it, but it shouldn't be phased by a few snowflakes. The gimbal has no waterproofness at all. So if we ever do get a big downpour of a day, that'll be the day I don't walk. So far, I haven't missed a day in over a month now. I did not expect snow flurries this morning. Okay, one more zig to the left will take us to Albert Street. Getting closer to the Mackenzie, if we're not already there. I haven't been paying that much attention to which crossroads. Oh, well, I certainly haven't come down here in order to see the one with the big pillars over there. That'll be a new house. Nobody built anything quite that big. Even the big houses aren't that big from the original era of this neighborhood. Looks like a funeral home, if you ask me, but I don't think it is. Yeah, no, I've never seen that one before. So obviously I haven't come this way precisely on my perambulations. Yeah, so it works out pretty well. Mackenzie is just another little ways to my right here. This is a crosswalk, I think. Or is it? Well, it's got a crosswalk, but it doesn't have a light, so I think I will go on down. That was my original plan anyway. I've walked over there before. This time I'll go down this side of Albert Street. Always some big houses along here too. There's a nice one of that half-timbered Elizabethan look. Not really Elizabethan, but that's what it makes me think of. That's the Mackenzie Art Gallery. Well, technically the T.C. Douglas building over there, government building. New one going up over here, or an old one that's been thoroughly refurbished. I can't remember. I think that's an older one that maybe has been recently refurbished. It doesn't look like a modern one. Oh, something is just gone here. Used to be a little house there, I'm sure. Oh, I gotta go one more intersection to get to the light up there. So, stand Albert. There's another big one. Usually lots of trees in front of these to block traffic noise, I presume, as much as anything, since we have Albert Street right out front. But there you go. Nice one over there. As we cross the Assiniboine, if you're following along. Watching a crow in the middle of the road over there, barely bothered to get out of the way of the car coming. Hopped a few feet. More big ones along here. Of course, when these were built, Albert Street wasn't as busy or noisy. So it's always like, they're great houses, but the traffic noise is always there, right in front of your, I mean, okay, admittedly, Albert Street is not, I don't know, Broadway in New York, but more traffic noise than you get most places in Regina. I'm going to go down the other side of Parliament. I can remember. I know my way around, I just don't remember the names of it. I guess that's 23rd. Parliament's up another couple of blocks. Could go all the way to Parliament and back. But I wanted to walk down along here to my left, so that's what I will do. I was not expecting to get snowed on. Didn't press the button, so I didn't actually get a walk light. The left turn signal's gone, so I'm good. Go this way past Regina Christian School here. I think I've only ever been in it once all the years I've lived here. It's obviously an old school. It wasn't always Regina Christian School. I don't know what it was originally. I should, but I don't. It's probably in my book, Historic Walks of Regina and Mischa. Anyway, quite a large building and older style. What's the note there? Tudorian. Yes, birdsong in spring. Birdsong in snow. That's Saskatchewan in the spring. I may have to put my hat back on. I think I will. Hold on 1 second. Any strange movements are because I'm putting my hat on. That's better. Oh. Hi, Gary. Was it an all-boys school? Okay, there you go. Gary knows. Continues over here, although the gym is newer vintage than the main part of the building. Not new, but newer than the main part. And this, when we first moved here, was all empty ground when I first moved here. And now there's all sorts of condos over here, including that one that's still under construction. Oh, the snow's getting heavier, so I wasn't anticipating a walk in the snow, but since I'm a half hour at least from home, turning around and heading back the other way, I'm getting a walk in the snow. So yeah, all of that has been built up since we were here, since I got here, which admittedly was 1988, so it's been a while. When I came from Weyburn. Cross up here somewhere and start heading back. Every step this way. Well, I say some going back because I won't be going all the way to the footbridge. So. There's a view down. There's four of these condos, and that was a bigger step than I thought. This one was one of the first ones they built along here. Well, this is a less pleasant walk than it started to be. I'm currently walking into the wind with the snow in my face. But I'm tough. I'm from Saskatchewan. I can take it. I don't know if Miriam is still watching. She's in India, so pretty sure it's warmer there than here. ran out of sidewalk here, so this might be a good time to cross over. Also because nobody's really coming, so that makes it a good time to cross over as well. I'll still go a little further this way. One of our long straight sidewalks with trees on either side, vanishing almost to infinity. You know, for a very short version of infinity. If you define infinity as far as you can see, it vanishes into infinity. It's not really infinity. It goes to the vanishing point. I'll use the art term when you're doing perspective. I remember when I was a teen or younger, discovering the vanishing point in perspective and playing with it, give that three-dimensional view, illusion in your art. Because I minored in art. I drew editorial cartoons at the Weyburn Review for almost all the time I was there. 7 years probably. Only thing I ever did professionally was art. And I haven't drawn anything seriously or frivolously for a very long time. So, you know, if the writing doesn't work out, I'll switch to something really profitable like art or acting. It would take me some time to retrain my eye, I suspect. Well, I don't know, maybe it's like riding a bicycle. I have at least some skill. It would need a lot of polish. I wouldn't be hopeless at drawing things. I always thought I would eventually, take art lessons on the side. On the side always seemed to be filled up with other things. Like musical theater. Which, speaking of which, coming up from Regina Lyric, Regina Lyric Musical Theater, reginalyric.com, flip the script, gender-swapped Broadway songs. That's not this weekend, but the next. If you're in Regina, you can also order a meal from the German Club to eat while you're watching the show. If you're not in Regina, you can just pay the $25 ticket and watch the show wherever you live. Next, not this, but the next. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon. Friday and Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. All right, I'm gonna go down, start back going this way now. I remember a drawing you did. That grandma had framed. And I used to aspire to be as good as you at drawing. Well, I think you got there. I think that was the drawing of the rodeo, which was taken from a really good photo I got at a rodeo in Weyburn. And so I turned it into a drawing, but if you look at it, it starts off very tight and controlled. And I clearly got frustrated with the cross-hatching because I was doing, it was an ink, draw it in pencil and then ink it. And so you can literally see how it becomes looser and looser as you go across the page. I think that was one of my problems with, at least with some forms of art, at least when I was a teenager or young, in my 20s, I didn't have the patience. Now I'm afraid I don't have the eyesight, but yeah, I did a lot of drawings sort of right around the time I went to university. Well, of course, I became an art minor. We went to Arkansas, where I went to university, by way of relatives in Missouri. And I did some drawing there around people's farms and houses, I remember. Usually I gave those to them, so I don't know what happened to them all. I remember doing a drawing of the old pot-bellied stove in my grandma's house. And one of my Aunt Mildred, my wife's sister, my mother's sister. I've walked along these paths before, but not this particular one, I don't think. So now we've turned and are heading back housewise. There's what we like to call a slough here in Saskatchewan, with ducks on it. Lots of rushes. Of my editorial cartoons, I would say I had some good ideas. The execution of them was fine. As far as, you know, what I drew, the actual drawing wasn't all that great, but as a cartoonist, you have a style. People get used to it, so people seem to like them. Except for the one that got pulled because it was in bad taste, but I thought it was funny. That only happened to me once. I think it was there was supposed to be a new sewage lagoon, and somebody was also wanting to build a water park, and I suggested combining the two. Apparently that was in bad taste. Go figure. Did I finish talking about the, no I didn't. So flip this script, Regina Lyric Musical Theater, reginalyric.com, $25, you can watch it. I'm singing a quartet, all by myself, all 4 parts, filmed each part separately. They'll all be put together in a video montage, so I'll be singing with myself. My wife and I did a duet, and our daughter Alice did a solo. And then of course there's many other singers. It's probably a good 2-hour production total. Some really talented people in it, and if you enjoy musical theater, you might enjoy that, and you can watch it, unlike most lyric shows, from anywhere in the world. So if you're curious, reginalyric.com. This will be a somewhat longer walk this morning. Sure it'll be over an hour by the time I get back, but that's where I'm headed now. I've turned the corner. I like these paths over here. We're to the east of the Wascana Rehab, which is that building behind the trees on the left. See? Wendy thought my cartoon would have been hilarious. You're a woman of taste. Not sure what kind of taste. There's the lake. Not gonna go on that side though, because I'll go around the lake again on Friday. Every Friday I plan to go around the lake. So we'll take this sidewalk instead. Look around to the left. Not exactly a direct path, but and there you can see the Wascana Rehab better in front of me. As I said the last time I was down here, I once sang for patients there. And it was only after the fact it occurred to me that singing "Don't Get Around Much Anymore" might not have been the best choice for rehab patients. But I did it. It's the Saturday dance. Could have gone, but for. It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. Perfect for people in wheelchairs. Seeing the white sticking up over there, and my first thought was Harding Swings. The university I went to, Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas, is famous for these white swings around the campus that you can sit in. You know, sit there with your girl and or guy and enjoy the smell of the magnolias. So that's kind of, I don't know where they came from, but I've always known them as Harding Swings. And then Western Christian College, where my dad taught, where I grew up on that campus, got the plans and built a couple of them and put them on the campus there. I don't know if they went to Dauphin when the school moved there. I certainly never saw them here when the school moved to Regina, so I suspect they were discarded somewhere along the path. But for a while, the Harding swings. Let's see. I'll go down this way just because. Trying to avoid walking by the lake because I'll be doing that on Friday. Lots of grass here. It's all part of Wascana Center. Big urban park, bigger than Central Park in total area. One of the largest in North America. Now, did I just trap myself? That's the real question. I may have to cut through the grass to get anywhere else. I thought there was a, oh, nope. Looks like I can get into the parking lot, so that's exciting. Oh, and there I've got the unstable connection again. Shouldn't have come down here. Only momentary. Hopefully that wasn't too bad a glitch. And again, if you're watching this recorded, as most of my viewers do, you won't even have noticed. This is, I think we usually just call it the bowl up here. Oh, that's a long message, Wendy. Hard to read. Wendy remembers those swings in Weyburn at the old campus out at the airport. Western was, when we lived there, was in the former Commonwealth Air Training Command base, so World War II buildings that had been somewhat refurbished. The education building was nice. Our apartments were okay, but they were still these very old, well, it wasn't that they were old, I guess. When we moved there, it was 1967. They were only about 25 years old probably when we moved into them. They seemed old. They hadn't been painted. We thought they were ancient then, and actually I guess they were not very old at all, but they were just, you know, thrown up during the war, and they were fire traps. There were several major fires, fortunately never in a school building, but in some of the other buildings at the airport when we were there. But that's where I lived from 1968, no, 67. We moved up here in 67, centennial year, until I moved into my own apartment in early 80s. But my parents still lived there until the school moved to Dauphin, and they moved into an apartment in Weyburn where they remained. All right, well, now we will go over to the lake shore, but I'm going to stay away from the lake because there's a path up here I can follow that's a little different. There's a lake down there. There's an exciting view of the men's side of the washrooms. If I walk around the other way, I'm pretty sure we'd see the women's side, but perhaps that's not necessary. And we go this way, and then this way. This way. Brand new sidewalk. Well, I don't know how new, but newer than the rest of the sidewalk. Yes, this will be a long walk by the time I get back. It's already 45 minutes, and I'm a good 20 minutes minimum from home, maybe 25. Snow's let up. My horizon is slightly off kilter again, as always. The app I'm using for the live stream doesn't let you adjust it. The app that came with the gimbal does. So I adjusted in that app, but I don't know that it carries over to this app. Happens it does, happens it doesn't, happens it doesn't. I lost my sidewalk doing that, but it's okay. Now you can see the ledge ahead. Saskatchewan Legislative Building. This low brick building over here, I believe it was originally a powerhouse. Provided power for the ledge. Separately, I think. Now it's some sort of maintenance building where they, I don't know, do whatever it is maintenance types do around here. Walk over here so I'm walking facing traffic like I'm supposed to be. I don't think it's still a powerhouse, but I suppose it could still have emergency generators in it. There was a similar building in Weyburn, what I knew as Surrey Valley Extended Care Hospital, but was originally the Weyburn, the Saskatchewan Hospital, one of two major mental institutions in the province. And it had its own powerhouse, which when I was there was still in operation. Sometime in the 80s. Of course, the whole building's gone now. Massive building, but it was eventually torn down. I don't know. It could still be working as a powerhouse. Can't tell from here. I hear sounds. Maybe it's a heating plant now. I have no idea. Walking straight toward the ledge here. Took my hat off again if anybody cares. Walk fast enough to work up a sweat. Not as fast as I would without the camera, I admit. And in fact, as I mentioned before, in the fall I was actually jogging, but my knees complained bitterly, which meant I would jog, and then for about 2 weeks I didn't think I should jog, so that seemed counterproductive. But I was pleased I was able to do it, and, you know, wasn't horribly out of breath or keeling over, so that was good. Walking like this, I can keep up forever at this pace. If I were doing it just for exercise, I would walk a little faster. But doing it with the camera has kept me motivated. As I said, I haven't missed a day in over a month now. And it's usually an hour walk, or a little bit less, or a little bit more. So, doing its job. And that people actually watch it is just gravy. And I will, as somebody asked me this week, move out to walk other places at some point. Not every time, but occasionally. I can always drive somewhere. Oh, little squirrel. I can always drive somewhere and park and walk. Especially up further up the pathway I went up on Monday. I parked in the park over there. I could walk quite a long ways out there, because that goes on for several more kilometers and takes you right out past the RCMP barracks and further. So here we are on the back side of the legislature. Yeah, here we are at the backside of democracy. That was probably in bad taste too. Oh well. See the lovely architecture. Windows in Saskatchewan. Built out of Tyndall stone. Inside has a lot of marble, so it's often called the Marble Palace. Built in, I think it was under construction when the tornado hit, 1912. I don't think it was finished yet. I don't think the tornado did it any damage, although it did kind of start down here somewhere, or touch down. I think it only touched down on the other side of the lake. And then tore through downtown and killed 23 people, I think. It's the worst tornado disaster in Canadian history. Let's go this way. There's a nice view of the dome from this direction. As I've mentioned before, a couple of years ago they redid the dome completely and resheathed it in brand new copper. So for several months it was bright, shiny, penny colored, but over time, not that much time, it has taken on its familiar, almost black patina. Way blacker than copper in Ottawa at the Parliament buildings, for example. It has to do with our climate, apparently. It's not a different kind of copper or anything, just different conditions. And the snow's picked up a little bit more again. Nice little park seating area in there. Does the sidewalk go on through? Yes, it does. Oh, I've never walked along here, so let's walk along here. That's the First World War Memorial over there. Or War Memorial, but primarily First World War. Oh. I've never walked on this little piece of sidewalk. Based on its condition, not a lot of people have. It's really big flat slabs with way too big a gap between them, so a little awkward to stay on the concrete. Unfortunately, this puts us back in traffic. Now, why would I get an unstable connection warning on Albert Street? That makes no sense. Going down to the next corner before I try to cross Albert. Down to the bridge. Albert Street Bridge. It's kind of, you get this nice green tunnel effect here once the leaves come out on these sidewalks. At least you're not right up against the street. You're on this side of the trees. And you walk along here. Sure, my hair's quite wet since I took my hat off. least I have hair. Unlike some members of my family. I think I better check my settings, see if there's something I can do about that unstable connection. Maybe I have it set to expect a higher bandwidth than I'm getting consistently. All right, we will cross here, go down the other side of the bridge. There's the lake, of course, through the trees. Bridge. There's the flags flying down there. Long light. Especially when nobody's coming. Could totally have jaywalked. There's the view down the very empty Copper Street Bridge. All right, we will go down here. I have to go down here to get on the bridge on this side. Flags change depending on what's going on. Right now they're Canadian flags, but not that long ago they were alternating the Union Jack and the Greek flag for some reason. I still don't know why the Greek flag was there. I presume the Union Jack was because of Commonwealth Day, which was a few weeks ago. Snow's picked up again. So, and I took off my hat when it stopped for a while. I don't think I'll bother trying to put it back on. Almost home, so I'll just be tough. Saskatchewan tough. It's actually the slogan of the Saskatchewan Rough Riders a few years ago. Several years ago. Whoa. And there's the creek in the snow. Muscata Creek. With a little snow. I wish there was some way to get onto this dike from here, but you can't. You have to go all the way down to the end. The path along the dike, does it peter out completely? Yeah. You just run into the bridge down here. Can't go any further if you keep coming along the dike that I've walked along before. So, not much point to that. Good to know, so I don't come that way sometime. I've never really looked before. Oh. Well, the Union Jack and the Greek flag was before Prince Philip died, though. So I don't think it was connected. All the flags were at half-mast around here, but I don't think that was... I kept meaning to look it up, but I never did find out. I suppose that has some logic to it, but he wasn't dead when those were flying, Prince Philip. Getting close now. How long have I been going? Just hit an hour, so yeah, this is about typical. Slightly longer than some. Not the same length as yesterday's when I went down to Mosaic Stadium. Should mention again that in Shards of Excalibur, my YA fantasy series, Wally Knight lives down at the end of the Harrington Mews there. One of the two main characters. All right, recycling bay. See the recycling truck down to my right? That's where all these blue bins are sitting out. Ours goes into the alley, so we don't have to put it on the street. Well, I think I'll title this one April Snow Shower when I put it on YouTube. You keep thinking you're done with snow. And if it's not piling up, which it could still. As I mentioned before, I have a clear memory of a Victoria Day weekend snowstorm that buried everything. And that's still most of a month away. I've heard it snowed every month in southern Saskatchewan except July in recorded history. Of course, you go back into the Ice Age, I'm pretty sure it was snowing all the time. Let's go through our alley here. That'll put us on Angus Crescent. This is Leopold Crescent. Always found that house intriguing, that sort of rustic. Should be out in the mountains somewhere, look. It's different from everything else. I'm sure that's whoever built it was what they were going for. Or it's an older house that was refinished in that fashion. That's possible too. Davin School dead ahead, where Alice went to school. Crescent. Okie dokie. And that will do it. So, thanks for taking a walk in an unexpected April snowstorm. Not storm, but flurry. And I'll be back tomorrow, weather permitting. Bye for now.